The agenda is the approval of the March 23rd, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naparata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Dr. Gogan.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. It's nice to see so many faces on the screen. I have a lengthy report and I will do my best to condense it because you do have it in your packet. So I'll start with my personnel update. I'm pleased to let you know that we have hired Tracy Sabatka as the Webster Middle School School Adjustment Counselor. She'll be starting around May 3rd. We have hired Shannon Pringle. In your notes, it says Bartlett High School, but she is a Park Avenue food service worker. We've also hired Colleen Savick as a paraprofessional over at Park Avenue. I'm pleased to let you know that I've extended contract agreements for Mrs. Robin Parmley as the Park Ave principal, Dr. Patricia Mackay as our Director of Title I and ELL and grants, and Miss Gina Nieves as the Assistant Principal for Bartlett High School. I'd also like to let you know that later on this evening, you're going to see a job description for the program evaluator for the adult education program. As you know, Miss Terry Gilardi has been working with the adult education program, and I'm shifting her title to be the program evaluator for the rest of this year to support our new co-directors, and they're doing a wonderful job. Unfortunately, we have received the resignation from Miss Lynn Bent, our administrative assistant over in the special education office, and we're currently looking for her replacement, and she's with us for a little bit longer. Any questions on personnel before I move on? Okay. Our return to in-person learning update. There's so much to say. I want to start with a big shout out for our Park Avenue teachers, paraprofessionals, special educators, ABAs, school psychologists, administrative assistants, custodians, and cafeteria workers. Our return to 5 days of in-person learning was a lot of work to get ready for, and a lot of people put a lot of energy and effort into that. But because of our strong safety protocols and preparedness, the transition for the kids, I believe, was very well on many fronts. Of course, we had some little bumps and bruises and a couple tears in there, but everyone did a really wonderful job with welcoming back the kids to school. I was over there on a couple of different days, and it's just a really good feeling to see the kids and seeing their smiles underneath their masks. And they were thrilled to see each other, even though they are maintaining the 3 feet social distancing to the best of their ability. I'd like to let you know that we are also preparing for our Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School students to return to school in person on April 28th. And as a reminder, we will maintain our half-day Fridays until May 14th, when May 14th will be full-day Fridays for everyone across the district. We've been looking a lot at data and how many percentages of our kids are staying in remote. Right now, currently with Bartlett High School and Webster Middle School still in a hybrid model, we have approximately 31% of our student population in remote. Park Ave has about 18% of their students in remote setting for now until the rest of the year. I know Miss Peterson is going to speak a little bit more about this, but currently they have 35% of their kids in remote, and Bartlett High School has 49% of their students in remote. The enrollment cohort data that we've been tracking all year long is in your school committee packet so that you can see the ebb and flow of things. Also in your packet are our COVID dashboards for the last 3 weeks. We've consistently had about 6 cases. We are seeing more students right now, especially at the elementary level with getting COVID. So it's important that you see that and parents see that, and we've been pushing that data out. Any questions on that before I shift gears?
I just have one question. I'm not sure if you have an answer for this, but since remote has gone back now under the state guidelines, is there any information out there whether our district is kind of matching up with the amount of kids going back compared to other districts, or is that data not available?
Well, I think there's been a delay in the data. We've noticed that with our Board of Health. So there was a backlog going on. I think all over the news, you're going to hear that there are more students. That's the population that's actually getting COVID right now. And I want you to rest assured that we are continuing to follow our protocols and in school. I think the crazy thing for us is we do all the protocols in school and then we put the kids on the bus and those protocols are not in place as strong. So just like different people make different rules for, at home. So we're doing the best that we can. I don't take the time, Nick, to take a look at the other communities. We're too busy to say, hey, what are your COVID cases? Every school district has different safety protocols. I think we have seen an increase in younger students at Park Ave. All the cases this week were over at Park Ave. We expected that to happen with the distancing changes. And we are following the protocols. I think it's important to state that with the 3 feet distancing, the close contacts may increase as well. So we're gonna keep tracking data and keep sharing it. And we are seeing that there has been a little bit of a lag with reports coming through to our Board of Health director. So hopefully that was just a blip in the motion, but we did see that back in December as well. So any other questions on COVID, safety dashboard, protocols? The work that's been done over at Park Ave is really remarkable. The kids are eating, half the kids are eating breakfast in the classroom and half are eating breakfast in the gymnasium. And they purchased these little TV top tables and kids are sitting in hula hoops. And, over there, we were joking and saying, I'm reserving the back corner for Friday breakfast. So it's a new environment for the kids and the kids have really acclimated to it pretty well. They're coming in, they're sitting down, they're eating. And I don't know if the principals would validate this, but what I've seen from the 6 feet distancing with the eating, even before we moved to in-person, is that the kids are eating more. There's less distraction around them. So there are some positives that have come out of this. I'm going to move on to professional development and give you a curriculum update. Just to change it up a little bit, I have a short little presentation and I'm going to invite Dr. Mackay to jump in with me. I've been doing a lot more hands-on with curriculum instruction with our director being out and working closely with Dr. Mackay on a couple different things. So this is just a snapshot of what happened. Last Friday, we had some half-day professional development. And Dr. Mackay, I'm just looking for your face to see if you want to speak a little bit about this ongoing work with ELL instructional strategies.
Thank you. So the work with Dr. Bertha Elena Rojas and her colleagues has really helped and strengthened our ELL program this year. We have 4 new ELL teachers out of 6. So the work was really critical this year to bring everyone up to speed to our goals in working with the ELL population. The focus has been on designing and the delivery of ESL instruction to meet the needs of in-person and online. They've done this throughout the entire year, and the focus is on language development and lesson planning, which is consistent, as you'll see, with what non-L teachers are doing as well. So we're really proud of the work that they've been participating in all year.
We also had a legal training where Attorney Tobin has come back into our district several times. We try to do these annually with regulations around 504s. And over at Bartlett and Webster Middle School, we've had hired Rebus, Miss Elaine Gumlaw, to be working with our principals through the TAG grants. She's been working with them all year long on lesson planning, essential questions, determining the difference between scaffolding and differentiation. And most recently, she has met with the ILT members at both schools to in a train the trainer model. And these are just a couple slides from her presentation that really show you we want to get to rigorous learning more than rote memory. We want students engaged at a higher level of critical thinking. And so that really is directly aligned with lesson planning and what choices students have. So she did some work with, has been doing some ongoing work with the principals and the ILT members, looking at how to grab the kids' attentions with activators and summarizers, and having the students verbalize their answers and be able to explain their own strategies and thinking is part of the methodology. She also touched upon the emotional and mental health status of all of our students, which kind of leads to some of the work that Noelle Foy has also done with our students of recent. Noelle Foy has come in all year long, and she worked with our counselors at the beginning of the year. Most recently, she did some virtual grade level assemblies with our Bartlett High School and Webster Middle School students. And we just pushed out the parent portion of that today through email, follow-up parent tips on how to deal with anxiety, coming back to school, and just what COVID has done to all of us. Certainly normal, but things are all kind of linking together with our professional development. One thing that we've done differently this year, or we started to do, is have a pre-planning meeting with any consultant coming in with the principals involved, and then a debriefing meeting with the principals involved, so that we can really follow up on the implementation of what we're doing with professional development and linking it to the day-to-day implementation. This past Friday, Dr. Mackay and myself and our principal, Mrs. Parmley, and Park Avenue teachers and staff worked on a literacy reset under the guidance of some literacy experts. Melissa Rice is our DESE literacy consultant. She's working on the early literacy grant. In conjunction, we had our consultants from McGraw-Hill. We used the Wonders program for reading. And we met with them, Dr. Mackay and I, several times to kind of link what we're doing around literacy. We know that COVID has been very hard on teaching and learning and very hard to do, but now with students coming back into in-person learning, we saw that as an opportunity to take a look at our data and really take a deeper dive at our literacy block, our 120 tiered 1 literacy block. There's some data in here for you to see. We have had our literacy experts sort of do the heavy lifting to align what strategies and what programs to use to teach the 5 components of reading. So much more complex than what I'm rolling out, but I wanted you to see some of the things that we're working on with our teachers. And we're really not waiting until next year to say, oh, gee, COVID really hit and there are some learning gaps. We obviously know that there will be some learning gaps, and we are going to try to address those now. So I'm pleased at some of the work that's been going on. Dr. Mackay, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I think that the data from this year is telling us that we have a lot of work to do. That we can see the difference between this year and last year where our students are at. But we also have to, the work with Rebus and the work with the literacy consultants and the work with ELL, for instance, we have to push forward. We have to continue to push forward and have expectations for our students. I think it's easy to take a look at how much our students don't know, but and kind of get stuck there. And we don't want to get stuck there. We want to have hope for the future and hope that we can get through the challenges of this year in a safe and supportive way, as the social emotional PD is telling us. So it's a combination of all of those factors that are going to get us through, understanding where we are, maintaining rigor, and doing it in a safe and supportive way.
So we figured we'd focus on really what core tier 1 instruction should look like, keeping alignments to grade level content, and then really separating the tier 2 and tier 3 interventions at a different time, and making sure that all students are exposed to grade level content. So we're excited about the kids coming back, but we're also using this as an opportunity to reset what some of the tier 1 instructional resources are that we have, and what the practices should look like with our teachers. So moving on, I am pleased to tell you that the first draft of the educational visioning that we will be submitting to the MSBA will be presented in its finality at the school building committee meeting this Thursday. You have the draft in your school committee packet. As you can see, it's pretty extensive and lengthy. And the architects are working on adding the drawings that will give some ideas of initial thoughts. So I will share that with you when that is finalized, and that will be submitted next week. I think the things that I'd like to just highlight about our educational vision for the future is really focused on building community hubs in our schools, and having 3 separate wings where we have the innovation pathway hub, where we can see the advanced manufacturing and the health and human care programs connect to core content, and having those being used by all students. And then really having another center where we have the auditorium, the gymnasium, and a cafeteria where our community can access that, where we can use that readily for whether it's town meetings or show choir events or drama and theater or ceremonies, and really shutting that off from the school. And then having another community focus area where we have programs like our adult education programming, our family liaison, and some resources for our community, whether that's U-Wink or our family health of Worcester dental services, our nursing offices, and our guidance suites, sort of located in the same areas. These are just initial thoughts and really what have come out of our work with the educational visioning team. So more to come, very, very exciting. Today I had the privilege of having a conversation with a nationally known consultant who helps schools with getting their innovation pathways off the ground and building credentialing programs. So there'll be lots more of information coming on that. I just wanted to give you a
Looks like Dr. Gogan is frozen.
my list of other updates, those things.
Thank you. You froze for a second there, Dr. Gogan. I think the last word was summary.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
Uh-oh.
We hear you though.
Okay, well,
Well, we kind of hear you. Sorry. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but you're broken up again.
I'm going to sign off, sign on again.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yeah. You're still frozen.
I'll shut my
Try
video.
turning off your, there you go.
Okay. I'm happy to answer any questions about my report. Sorry, you can't see my face.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Thank you, Dr. Gogan.
You're welcome.
We'll start cooperating and we'll be able to see you again. The next item on the agenda is the business manager's report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening. How are you tonight? First
Very
item
good,
on
and
the
you?
agenda is the school building update, and I'm sorry if this is a little bit repetitive. Dr. Gogan stole a little bit of my thunder there. We will be meeting. We had a meeting on April 1st to do a preliminary review of the PDP that's going to be submitted and some of the options that the architects are looking for. We are meeting again this Thursday coming up to review the final PDP submission to the MSBA. The building committee needs to approve that submission. So we will be doing that on Thursday. And really what they're submitting is 5 options. Part of the feasibility study is for them, again, to come in and look at all options, not just looking at a renovation. They're tasked with looking at a new build, looking at just fixing the bare bones of the building. And they're also looking at what it would be to do a minor renovation or a more intensive renovation. So they're coming up with 5 or 6 options. After listening to our educational planning, they go back, they work on the designs, and they come up with ideas that they think might make the building functional around the educational plan that we're working on. So this is the preliminary design, so it's not locked in stone. Basically, this gets approved and submitted to the MSBA. They make comments on it. They come back to the school with any of their feedback, and then we jump back on that and take a look at it and continue the work. So I guess that goes back and forth a couple of times before we have to submit the final submission in August. I believe it's August. So we will be meeting Thursday at 6. If anybody wants to jump in and listen in, it will be posted online, the meeting, Zoom link to the meeting, if anybody's interested in looking at what the architects have come up with. It's very exciting and interesting work, and it's fun to kind of visualize what a building might look like. It's amazing when you can see, well, maybe we'll take out this section of the building, or maybe we could add on to this section of the building, and how it just really transforms the educational design of a building. So it's exciting work. Any questions on that? The second
Sounds very
item,
exciting.
Sorry,
Sorry, I keep jumping in on you, Mrs.
No,
Perangeli.
no, I'm not giving you time to answer. Second item is the end of year audit report. I am happy to say that that has been completed and it is no findings. So everything's done with that. It's submitted to the state, so we are good to go on to the next year. Then we jump into food service update. As Dr. Gogan said, school has opened up and the kids are all back, and we're really excited. And the food service department has been very active, adapting and adjusting to all these continuous models of food service delivery that we've had over the past year. You know, we went from being totally remote to being just a few kids in, and with our special education coming in, to having hybrid models where we have half in and we're doing half home delivery, to now being pretty much full in, and we're still providing meals to those families that are remote. So I just wanted to let the public know that we've moved our pickup meals from the Webster Middle School to Park Ave to handle that distribution completely. So starting on April 27th, it's important to note that all the to-go meals will be distributed from Park Ave. The amounts were a lot smaller at the middle school. I think we were only maybe distributing 30 meals there. And it's just easier to consolidate all of that work into one building now and make it available for all of our parents to come through the line there and pick up meals. Again, those meals are for remote learners or anybody who is 18 and under, and they're free. They come pick up on Mondays, and you're getting 5 days of meals, breakfast and lunch. So, we welcome them to come on in. It's still our job to feed those families at home, and we're happy to do it. And the ladies love seeing the cars come through the line, and they know all the families that are coming in. So we enjoy seeing them come through. And with the 5 days of learning, I'm happy to say that the transition went pretty smoothly. There were no major concerns about how food was being served to our students for breakfast and lunch. Breakfast we were a little concerned. It was going to be an interesting model because, as you know, with breakfast, everybody's eating at once. So it's not like we have staggered lunches where we can fit all the kids in the cafeteria at once. We have 600 kids coming in and they're all getting breakfast. So we had to be creative in the space that we use and make sure that we could service all those kids for breakfast. So we have some kids who are going to their classrooms, eating in their classrooms, and some are dropping their bags off, heading down to their other locations. They're using the gymnasium. They're using a couple classrooms. They're using the cafeteria. Breakfast, the kids in the gym are sitting with hula hoops and tray tables. And it's working out well. And the food service staff is all over the allergy meals. They've been working with them. They're paying special attention to those students. And we have tables that are designated for those kids to come and sit at lunch. And allergy meals are clearly marked for the cafeteria staff. And the school lunch ladies and the nurses are monitoring, ensuring all the meals are getting to the right people and to the right kids. So we have no issues with that. On Fridays, on our half days, we are offering bag lunches to students to take home. And again, allergy lunches are delivered to the classrooms on half days to make sure the students are receiving the proper meals upon leaving for the day, because we don't want any issues with any of the allergies. So it's always a concern of ours, and the staff do a fantastic job with that. They're in constant communication with the nurse, and they really have it down pat. So kudos to them. And I'd also like to give a shout out to a very special lady. I just think she deserves it. Marcy Bugby is one of our assistant cooks. She's worked in the district for many years, and she's been over at Bartlett for a long time. And with COVID and people taking time off and people not coming to work because of medical concerns or other issues, we were left without a cook for the past year at our elementary school. So Marcy just really stepped up to the plate and jumped full in and went over to Park Ave and really stepped up to the task. She was nervous about being a full-blown cook. She hadn't been in that role, and there's a lot more responsibility. But she just really jumped right in and learned the ropes and put in the extra effort and has done a fantastic job for the past year. Now that we are full with students coming back, our regular cook is coming back, so Marcy will be going back to her regular duties at Bartlett. But without her and her efforts, it would have been a different ballgame for us, and she really filled a big void. And I just want her to know how much we appreciate her stepping in and being a team player, and just she deserves the kudos. So if you happen to see Marcy around, or you're going through a line, or you're at the high school, just give her a nice thank you, and we really appreciate her hard work. And I just also wanted to thank Ellen Nyland, the food service director, because she has not only been a director over the past year, she has been, I think, in every role in the kitchen also herself. She has been hands-on from being short-staffed all the time. So she's rolling up her sleeves. She's been filling in wherever needed. She's outside with the ladies in the winter and in the rain. She's inside. She's serving. She's prepping. She's doing whatever needed to make things run. People on the outside wouldn't know that we were short-staffed or that we were looking for staff or to service our families, and they've been wearing a lot of hats over there. So we appreciate their efforts in doing that. And then finally, with food service, we have been really, finance has been on our minds a lot, making sure how we're handling going through COVID and evaluating our budget. And we are managing and holding our own. We are fortunate because we've received the CARES money, so we've been able to use that money for all of our packaging. So that packaging is not coming out of any of our paper goods that we need. It's coming out of the CARES fund. It's not coming out of the food service revolving. So that has really helped us maintain that account. And any of the additional staff that we've had to hire, because all of those prepackaged meals, when your Park Ave students come in for lunches now, they're all prepackaged and waiting on the tables for the kids when they come in to help expedite the process. The kids are not walking through the line. So we've kind of narrowed down our servings to just a hot lunch, a one meal offering, to make it a little easier, because how else would we know who wanted what, right? We wouldn't be able to prep those meals. So as the kids come into the cafeteria now, all those tables have meals sitting there ready for the kids to come in and sit right down, and we have our allergy meals. So we, with all this packing and getting meals out and monitoring, we've had to hire additional staff. So that additional staff is also coming from the CARES fund. So we've really been able to manage, and we're not in any trouble yet. So I think overall they've done an excellent job, and I'm really proud of the group and their team efforts. And I can't thank those ladies enough. They've worked really, really hard over the past year, and they've done a great job. Any questions about that?
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli. And I would like to reiterate your thanks to the food services folks. I always say you guys do a great job of feeding our kids. And I was one of the parents in the pickup line at Park Ave, and always met with a smiling face, and they got to know who we were and what we were looking for. And it was really nice to see them. I actually miss the pickup line. So a big thanks to everybody who pulled that off. Before we go any further, we can certainly get back to any questions for Mrs. Perangeli if we have them, but we are scheduled for a public hearing at 6:30. And with the time being 6:33 p.m., I'd like to move into the public hearing regarding our budget. So I'll hand it back to Mrs. Perangeli and Dr. Gogan regarding that.
Okay, thank you.
So I am going to share my screen because we have a presentation.
So we're going to go over our presentation that you've seen, mostly seen, and then answer any questions that you may have. We did, the one piece that Mrs. Perangeli was just going to speak about was that presentation to the Finance Committee. So we have shared with the Finance Committee as well. I'll wait for you.
Can you see the presentation?
No, not yet.
I
Yes,
can
you
see
can.
it.
Okay.
I can't.
Oh, that's
Can you
funny.
see?
We can't.
Can you?
We can't see you, Dr. Gogan.
You can't see me?
Either. No.
Now? Wow. Okay, I have it right here. I can't see it, Mo. That's very strange.
I wonder if you might want to leave and come back, Dr. Gogan, just
Okay.
knowing that we can't see you
I
and
will.
you can't see what you need to present.
Okay, I'm gonna leave and come back.
Thank you. While we wait for Dr. Gogan to come back, maybe I'll just very quickly circle back to the committee. Were there any questions or comments regarding Mrs. Perangeli's report before we move into this public hearing? Okay, just checking.
If you'd like, I can start and then she can jump back in when she comes, just to go over the basic slides. So as Dr. Gogan said, we have a public hearing tonight. It's a shorter presentation than what we did in February. This past Thursday, we had met with the Finance Committee and reviewed our request for FY22. As always, we start our presentation with reminding people of our vision and our mission for the district, and providing a quality education and safe learning environment for all students. We think that's important to note. And then we did have some highlights that we wanted to share. And you should have seen these because these were all in our presentation back in February. The Webster school community continues to demonstrate an ongoing persistence with establishing a positive learning environment for all students. We have had to adapt with flexibility and positive attitudes as we implemented new teaching and learning models over the past year. As you know, it's all been crazy with COVID, and when we prepared this budget, it was done without COVID in mind. We went into this budget season like we were going to enter into any normal school year. Some of the things we've done over the past year, we've remote and hybrid school models and provided a full day of synchronous learning. We are very proud of that fact. And I think a lot of our colleagues across the state can verify that not everybody has had just a synchronous model of learning. Many districts are doing asynchronous, and we have been able to have all day learning from our teachers to our students daily, and we are very proud of that. Our recent CARES Fund had brought in over 62,000 of additional teaching materials and students for students, families, and staff. We had shared that list with you guys. And we've put in some strong safety protocols across the district that has helped us get through this past year of COVID. We've worked really hard in increasing our communication to families and to our staff. The teachers have had planning time every Friday. During this year, we've hired a new family liaison and outreached increased supports to our families at home, something we're very proud of. We hold weekly district leadership meetings and weekly COVID leadership meetings with our team. We have a COVID leadership team that we meet weekly to discuss any of the issues going on in the community, in the town, if they're having any problems within their schools. Oh, I see Dr. Gogan coming back in. She's there twice. I hope I don't mess her up. Are you there, Dr. Gogan? She was in the waiting room twice, so I let one of them in, but I don't see the others.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can now.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I cannot get back in. Oh, here I am at both places. I apologize for the internet problem. I'm on my phone and I'm here. So
I kind of started without you. I was
Okay.
just updating the committee on where we were at with our weekly COVID leadership meetings and how we've been implementing those over the years. And I'll let you jump in.
can you see me on the big screen? Can you see me?
No.
No. Okay, because I can see myself. I'm very, very sorry. My apologies, but I'm going to move forward. Well, thank you, and I apologize again. The budget has been based on all of our goals, and as you can see here, it's been an interesting year with lots of bumps and bruises, but the one thing that we can stand tall on is that the Webster Public School has come together. We've had increased communication and increased outreach, and really just a mindset of being prepared for the unknown and being ready to shift. And a shout out goes to everyone in our district once again. Some of our highlights, we just want to point out that we, prior to COVID, we were making substantial gains with our academic progress. The district, for the first time in many years, and Park Avenue were deemed making substantial progress. We know that Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School still are under DESE's guidance, and we receive support from the Department of Education, and we're working on our TAG grants. I'm really proud of the position that the Webster Public Schools were in prior to COVID. Most of our kids had devices. We made sure that our students got devices for the remote learning. We've have given hotspots out to families. We've made ongoing modifications, as you've heard tonight, with making sure that our students and families have been fed. We've hired a bilingual family liaison, And we've tried some new things over the course of the year, like virtual parent open houses. And, some of the funny things that we've learned is the high school increased outreach with virtual open houses and parent-teacher conferences. We've certainly increased our home visits with our school resource officer and counselors and family liaison to make sure that students are safe. And we have worked diligently to give our teachers additional supports. As you know, the Commissioner of Education gave all of our teachers across the state an additional 5 days of professional development. And I think we've used every minute of that with trying to gear up for remote learning and teach, talking about dealing with the distancing. And we've even accomplished some of our tasks from last year, like the signs of suicide training. That has gone over very well at Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School, thanks to our teachers and staff that are working on that. And, we've been able to utilize the extra additional CARES Fund money very smartly, and in terms of adding additional resources and technology in the classrooms, making sure teachers had updated computers and rolling carts and sound systems and docking stations. We've tried to meet their needs. And on top of that, we've also made sure that we purchased at-home items for our students, whether that's headphones or math manipulatives or whiteboards or biology coloring books, anatomy coloring books. I think we've been really focused on maintaining some type of teaching and learning environment during COVID. And I'm not sure what Mrs. Perangeli said in the beginning, but I think it's important to note that the budget before you is really based on a non-COVID world. We're basing it on having all of our students back in school. Our budget process is lengthy, actually started a little later than normal this year due to COVID. And here we are at April 13th. And our annual town meeting's coming up. Our goals have stayed pretty stagnant with what our mission is, to provide a safe learning environment for our kids and to continue to look at improving student programming in a fiscally responsible manner. And making sure our teachers are with us and providing them meaningful professional development so that we know that the rubber hits the road in the classroom. And we wanted to support our teachers and continue wanting to support our teachers. I think it's important that you see as a school committee and a community at large that we really try to take a system-wide approach with determining needs and setting our priorities. And I know that we work collaboratively with our town, and not a lot of school districts can say that. So those are our goals. And our approach is really based on providing an early intervention at the elementary school and closing gaps and making sure that they don't become larger. And certainly looking at the middle school, we want to ensure appropriate time on learning and for all core content areas. And that's why you're going to see the change in the teaming over in a later on slide. And we certainly are looking at expanding college and career pathways for all of our students. And this is really exciting for us because it's some of the things we've been working on are with the Bartlett project are we're becoming closer and closer to them. And that just brings about another layer of how programming can change and how we can provide equitable opportunities for all of our students in the district. Mrs. Perangeli?
Yep, this is a historical view of our budget. You can see in FY21, we actually had a reduction from FY20. So if you were to average out the last 4 years, we're actually averaging about 2% a year. If you take FY22 budget request and go back to 19, it's about a 2% increase a year. But this takes us a look at the back to 17. Our FY22 proposed budget, which was sent over to the town by the school committee at the end of February, represents a $22 million budget, 22.8, I should say, $1 million budget, which is a 5.14% increase or 1.15 million over FY21.
So our staffing requests are really tied back to our student opportunity plan that the school committee approved right before COVID. And certainly with COVID, it's made our needs known even more. We're looking for an additional school adjustment counselor over at Park Avenue. And as we have told you before, we're looking to increase the special education teachers over at Park Avenue, putting 2 special education teachers for grade 1 and 2 at grade 2 to meet the needs of our students with that early intervention mindset. And we're looking to add an additional academic interventionist over at the elementary school. And at Webster Middle School, we're also looking to add an additional academic interventionist. And we recently just hired which I told you tonight, the school adjustment counselor earlier than next year. And I do want to note that when we originally rolled out this budget to you, we were thinking about putting foreign language back in the middle school. We've shifted gears to keep 2 STEM teachers, really to foster the development of the career and college pathways that we're trying to build over at Bartlett High School with project-based learning. And over at the high school, we certainly are going to be looking for a career and technical pathway consultant, which we would fund through grants. And we're looking to have an academic interventionist over there with a special education background. So we put this slide in here to really show you that it's not just adding people to the budget that helps solve the problem, where we take a lot of thought into programming, and we balance things out. And this slide sort of captures how we're balancing things out. Certainly with hiring additional special education teachers, we would be decreasing the amount of inclusionary paraprofessionals. And certainly the reason for additional adjustments over at Webster Middle School is to ensure that we had a 7th grade team, an 8th grade team, and a split team, 7th and 8th grade team. But in order to ensure 90 minutes of English language arts and 90 minutes of math, we're reconfiguring the teams to have 2 ELA teachers, 2 math teachers, a science and a social studies teacher. So there's some reduction in a science teacher and a social studies teacher. And we definitely want to reinstitute band and chorus. That's never left our budget, but we were unable to do that with the safety requirements that COVID brought forth. It's important to note that in the budget, we are not filling librarian positions because we're using those funding for the additional positions. But it's important to note that the teachers and the students still have access to our libraries and reading materials. And because our counselors are teaching teaching social emotional curriculum, we do not need library as a time to cover teacher prep.
This just kind of summarizes what Dr. Gogan just said. It takes a look at our new positions by school and then shows any offsets to those positions to come out with a net down the bottom, which I can't see because it's behind the screen. But it just shows an offset to how we are accommodating our funds and really taking a look at our programming to move forward.
As you know, we've paid particular attention to the resources that our teachers have available to them. And over the course of years, we've increased the amount of money for curriculum and instruction and professional development. And I think I've said this many times, and I'm just going to state it again. I think had we not done all of this work we would have been in a very precarious situation when COVID hit. Back on March 12th, when school was closed, we were pretty much up and running with a remote model because we had access to a lot of online curriculum resources that we had previously purchased and our teachers were very used to using. So we were in a very good position because we've taken the tactic that the most important thing that happens in our schools is in the classroom. And so we've put a lot of time and energy into a very cohesive development of curriculum and professional development over the course of many years. A snapshot of our enrollment, as you can see, between last year and this year, we have lost students, and we look at the number of students that have chosen to be homeschooled or go to a different school. I anticipate, and we have seen, an increase in students coming back to school. Our office is very busy with central registration being right there. So I do think we will see more and more students coming back, and our numbers will even out to the 1800s again. Here's our projected enrollment based on this year's enrollment for next year. And then I'm not going to go over this very busy slide, but it is in your packet, and it's important that if you read across the slide, you can see where we are currently this year and how many classrooms we've had to develop. I'll take fourth grade for an example. We have 8 classrooms right now for fourth grade, 2 of which are remote only. We will not have 8 classrooms next year. We're planning on 6 due to the number of students. So there will be some adjustments made in terms of moving people around. And again, this outlines where we currently are, average class sizes, and how the teams will change. Everything in red is how things will change. So our enrollment at Bartlett High School. And, this Bartlett High School expansion of educational pathways, again, I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Thomas and Ms. Nieves and the ILT members and the teachers for really following the lead of working hard to get the innovation pathways designation. Not a lot of schools got that. And Mr. Thomas has really been very receptive to taking existing programs and expanding upon them. So, for example, the Nichols Honors Academy is now a leadership academy where all students have the opportunity to participate in some fashion. And he's been working really hard with Nichols and Quinsigamond to expand our dual enrollment. And as we continue to walk down the road of innovation pathways, I think it's going to get more and more exciting with what we can offer kids. And that excitement, we're really hoping to build that down at college and career pathway conversation down to the middle school. And I know that Ms. Peterson is receptive as well. It's important to take a look at the students that we service and who they are. And we, our next slide will show you, we have, I guess it's not on the next slide. We have a much higher rate of economically disadvantaged students than the state. And our population and our needs are different. So I just want to go back to just talking a little bit about our high needs students. So they're comprised of, our special education, our ELL students, and our economically disadvantaged. Our percentage is about 71% in the district compared to the state at 51%. That's a big difference. Our economically disadvantaged students are at about 62%, and the state average is about 36%. Here's a snapshot of, thank you, Monique. I think this is a really important slide for me because with our student populations and student needs come different types of programming, different needs, more staff for making sure that we have enough counselors. And so we're paying close attention to who our students are and what they need. It's a quick snapshot on our special education programming. We have substantially separate programs, as you know. I won't read all the slides. And our special education population is about 22% in comparison to the state of about 18%. So again, higher. And here's a snapshot of some of what our special education statistics. And we bring this up because these are our students and these are the programs that we need to design to make sure that our students are successful. Again, our ELL student population is increasing. And here's where we were prior to COVID, making substantial progress towards our targets, which is a huge accomplishment to our teachers and staff. And we know that along with everyone across the nation, that we're all looking at learning loss and to some extent or another, and we're ready to address it.
So our final budget for FY22, again, was a 5.14% increase for $22,811,000, $811,243. Can we answer any questions or do you have any comments?
My only question is, so we proposed a 22.8. Has the town included that full amount inside their townwide budget?
No, they have not. The town is asking for, I believe it was about 450,000 approximately, less than that. So we have been in multiple meetings with the town, talking about the budget and looking forward. And we agreed at this point, because we don't know what the state aid numbers are coming out, that we were going to hold off. We were also holding off to see what our ESSER monies was going to look like coming down the road. So they know it's a work in progress. We are meeting with them and speaking with them almost weekly at this point, up until town meeting, and working collaboratively with them. I mean, realistically, there's only so much town revenue. And right now, you know, we just have the governor's budget, so we're waiting to see where, if we can get some more solid numbers moving forward.
I have a question about the junior high reconfiguration. And this means, I just want a clarification of the loss of 2 jobs. That's 2 of our teachers. And thinking about the fall and possibly still restrictions, COVID restrictions, is that going to affect our teaching and learning? And we seem to be doing a lot of hiring with counselors, which is very, very important right now, with dealing with COVID especially. But can we afford, excuse me, can we afford the loss of 2 teachers for our students?
Mrs. Millett, I'm happy to speak to you offline about the way the staffing is going to roll out. I don't think it's a public conversation, but I think an assumption is being made that teachers are going to lose their job. So sometimes when you reorganize, you look at certifications and people get a different position. So I'm happy to have that conversation with you offline. But I don't think it's, I don't think the assumption that teachers are going to lose jobs is a correct one to make right now, especially with the middle school reconfiguration.
Okay, that I just wanted a clarification.
Okay. So sometimes when you reorg, you look at certifications and different positions. So one of the things that we're doing over at the middle school is we're keeping 2 STEMs. And we can talk about that. I think the budget really supports that we know we need teachers to help with the learning loss. So no one's looking to make reductions in teaching forces. I will say that.
Dr. Gogan, thanks for your clarification there. Just a question regarding the graduation and dropout data. Do we have any information from 2019, 2020?
Should be in the slide.
It looked like, and maybe I missed it, it was quick, but it looked like it was a year back. Yeah, maybe, I mean, not to ask for it at this moment, but it would be interesting to see what that looked like this past school year that just ended.
Sometimes there's a delay in the data, so this may be one of those categories where they don't give it to us right away, but I will follow up with you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, certainly you can see, you know, or I can see the graduation rate for 2018 to 19 was significantly higher than where we started here in 2015. I'd like to see where that trend is headed. It sort of, you know, went up and down there.
I do think that COVID is going to negatively impact our dropout rates. I do think that we've seen more students drop out this year. So I would prep you for that kind of data.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Thank you for that very thorough presentation. It's clear that, you know, a lot of time goes into the budgeting process and careful consideration given to the direction that we're headed, but it certainly seems aligned with our goals educationally. So hopefully we'll be able to make this work. It's a wait and see at this point, Mrs. Perangeli, with regard to finalization of this.
Yes, we have right up until town meeting to finalize our budget. And, you know, I just think it wouldn't be beneficial for us to just take less right up front when we don't know what the state funds are. I think it, you know, we have to plan our budget and come up with a budget and send it downtown before we even really know what kind of dollars we're talking about and planning. And I think it's really important to let the community know what we need. We are very collaborative with the town, and you know, they do support the school and they do support us, but we feel like, you know, we don't want to shortchange us. You know, we want to wait until we hit town meeting. We'll bring updates back to the committee on a regular basis. And, you know, when it comes time to coming to an agreement and where these additional funds will come from, if we need to make adjustments, we'll bring that recommendation to school committee for their approval to make sure that we're going into town meeting as a united front working together with the town.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the principal report. Joining us this evening from Webster Middle School is Ms. Heidi Peterson. Good evening, Ms. Peterson.
Lori, do we have to end the public hearing and go back into regular? Do we have to do that?
Well, we never ended the meeting to go into public hearing, so I think just an announcement that the public hearing has ended at 7:05 is sufficient.
Does that constitute the announcement, or would you like me to make the announcement, Lori?
I think that would be fine. And I'm not sure if we finished with the business manager report, if we need to go back to Mrs. Perangeli.
Mrs. Perangeli, did you have anything else you wanted to cover in your report, or should we open it up for questions if you've completed your report?
I did have one more item. I had two more items actually on my agenda.
Okay.
And I really, Finance Committee, Dr. Gogan and I went to Finance Committee on the April 8th, and we had a discussion about our budget with Finance Committee. It was well received. They had some good questions, and they appreciate the collaboration that we have with the town. So that meeting went well.
It was fun.
It was good. It was good. And then the last item on my agenda is in your packet. You should have a third quarter update. I wanted to give you that budget. I'm not going to go through it page by page, but I will answer any questions or look into anything. But we are on track with our budget, and it looks like at this point we might have a surplus as we're heading into the end of school year. So we're no issues with our budget. There's no questions. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee for Mrs. Perangeli? Hearing none, we'll move on. And as I already mentioned, next on the agenda is Ms. Peterson from Webster Middle School. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. So I wanted to start with talking about middle school specifically and our transition to in-person learning, the merge. So our classrooms can fit 20 students at 3 feet apart, which is the recommendation at this point. So we have our numbers as of April 6th. I've got 70% of our students families opting to come in person learning, and 25% opting to remain or switch over to remote learning. Still have about 20 families that hadn't responded as of April 6th. I know that we have gotten some responses since then, but if you want a breakdown by grade, we have 77% of our 5th graders coming in, 70% of our 6th graders coming in, 70% of our 7th graders coming in, and 65% of our 8th graders. So we're very excited about those numbers. And with the spacing in our building, we're lucky that there's less than 5 students that we have to take a look at moving their homerooms for spacing needs. But luckily the moves will remain on the same team. So those students will have the same teachers and it's not too much of a disruption. So we're very excited about that. We're very excited that with our spacing needs, we can remain having lunch in the cafeteria and in the library, and we don't have to add additional space or resources or staffing to accommodate that. And breakfast will remain in the classroom, and we have some accommodations for that. So the teachers, the staff is very excited to have students back on the 28th, and so we're looking forward to it very much. We're also building our extracurricular activities, building things back up. As you know, we did basketball in the winter. We're wrapping up football and cheer right now this week. And after vacation, softball and baseball will begin. We've also started art club and yoga sessions after school, a fitness session after school, a girls group, and academic assistance in the library. So we're not at full capacity with everything we used to offer before COVID, but it's very nice to see kids in the building after school and participating in activities with each other and with staff members, building relationships. One of the things that we've been doing at the middle school since the beginning of the year is incorporating mindfulness into our daily activities in conjunction with some of the things we learned from Noelle Foy and other professional development that I've been involved in myself. So one of the things that we do is on Monday and Wednesday. On Monday, we have Mindful Monday, and Wednesday, we do Wellbeing Wednesday. And so during announcements, we start the day with 2 to 4 minutes of a calm activity. So some of the things we've done are just relaxing and listening to some calming music. We did some visualization the other day. We've experimented with a lot of different breathing activities in the hopes that students will incorporate these activities into their daily lives and into stressful situations. Some of our staff and teachers have also incorporated similar activities into their daily routines and lessons. I know one staff member has calming music when they come back from recess to kind of reset. So some nice things building there. And the last piece of my report is talking about our TSV report. So on March 30th, we had our annual targeted site visit done by the American Institute for Research, which is an independent entity. So this year, like everything else, they visited us virtually. So they visited 11 classrooms, focusing on English and math classes. They focus on 3 areas: emotional support, class organization, and instructional support. So we have received a preliminary report last week, a couple weeks ago, and within a month or 2, we should be receiving a full report, which will include teacher survey results, principal interview results, and recommendations. Currently, the report just shows the classroom visits piece of it, and again, preliminary findings. So I'm pleased to announce that we have seen some growth, even with COVID and the constraints we're under with online and hybrid and juggling multiple screens in the classroom, that our greatest growth compared to last year's site visit was in classroom organization domain. And so that involves behavior management and productivity. So we scored mostly in the high range. So they score in 3 areas: low, middle, and high range. And so in the emotional support range, we were in the middle and high range, very few low numbers. And in the instructional support domain, it remains an area, as we know, that still needs a little bit more development. We mostly scored in the middle range with close ratings in the low range, not much high range. But we want to keep in mind that, again, this is a 15-minute snapshot. It was a snapshot. They were virtual. They did not see what was happening in the classroom. They only saw what was happening online. And so there's a piece of that missing, that in-person piece missing. But even with that, like I said, I'm very pleased with the growth. We know there's still work to be done, and these results are not surprising to me and shouldn't be surprising to anybody else who has seen these results. So we know what we need to work on, and we continue to do that. Happy to entertain questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Exciting to get the kids back in the building soon. The next item on the agenda is the student representative update. Good evening, Vivian.
For athletics, volleyball hosted Oxford High on March 25th, and varsity football had their home opener against Abby Kelly on March 26th. And volleyball faced Millbury on April 1st, and football hosted Millbury on April 2nd. And volleyball faced Tantasco on Wednesday, April 7th, and Thursday, April 8th. And football faced Sutton on Saturday, April 10th. And outdoor track began their season on April 4th, and then baseball, softball, and tennis are all scheduled to begin on April 26th. So the students are very excited to get back to their spring season. For clubs, DECA is still selling senior sweatshirts, and cash-only payments are due by April 14th. And the Medical Careers Club had their first meeting on Wednesday, April 7th. Counselors have begun counselor and classmate connection groups after school, where they discuss stress management techniques, which has been a really great thing to see going on lately. And the classes of 2022, 23, and 24 have elected their student government and student council members. So congratulations to all the students who won that. And unless there are any questions, that's going to conclude my report tonight.
Thank you, Vivian. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. Well, thank you for your update. The next item on the agenda under old business is the monthly fundraising update. Just a reminder regarding fundraisers, it's not the role of school committee to approve fundraisers, but we do review them on a regular basis.
I believe you have the fundraisers in your packet. I'm having definitely technical difficulties here looking at my packet. So the fundraisers, I believe off the top of my memory, are the Music Boosters fundraisers.
Correct. Yes, they're the planters, the grab and go planters, I think they were called.
Yes,
I don't have
and
it in
they
front
look
of me, but-
beautiful. And we've been pushing them out to all of our families, and they were nicely in Mr. Thomas's newsletter that he sent out. I don't know what's going on with my internet. It's not that windy over where I live. Sorry about this, you guys.
Well, it happens to all of us from time to time, so we certainly understand. You've had a good run.
I got my fingers crossed.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee regarding the fundraisers? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move into new business. And the first item on the agenda under new business is the school choice discussion and vote.
Yes. Every year, the school committees in Massachusetts need to vote on whether they want to continue with school choice. I have presented a sheet in your packet that gives you what our student enrollment projections are for next year and what the school choice enrollment cap would be. We'd love to keep it the same as the caps we've had previous years, which would be 140 students at Park Ave for each grade level, 150 students for each grade level at the middle school, and 160 students for each grade level at Bartlett High School. We would like to keep the October 1st cutoff for any school choice applicants, and that would leave openings in grade 8 through 12 for us.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? So it sounds like we're looking to vote to continue the current school choice caps as they are in place. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The
Thank
next
you.
item on the agenda, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the Bartlett High School Program of Studies.
I would like to have Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Nieves speak about the program of studies.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I believe you have before you a couple of sheets, 2 or 3 pages of all the changes that have been made. Most of them were formatting changes, making sure things were consistent in terms of whether we were calling them honors, pre-AP, trying to be consistent across the content areas. And then there were things like we had journalism 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there was no actual difference between them. I think one of the new things that we put in there, which is on page 9 and 10, is our credit recovery request. And we put that in there to try and give students a chance to, if they failed a big test or didn't turn in a project or something like that, they knew they bombed it, but they didn't want to get stuck with the F for the first or third quarter. It would be a student-initiated program to put a plan in place to recover those credits, but they also have to make sure that they're keeping up with their current schoolwork. So, it won't be applicable to every student, but students who want to make that up and have put in an effort, but for some reason or another blew it. And, it's high school. Some kids go through some things, some kids are working. We've had students now that our sports have begun, have been kind of overwhelmed by that in time. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I better get caught up. So it's kind of like a second chance for them. We did it first in third quarter because we have semester classes that end in the second quarter and fourth quarter. And that would be too difficult for our teachers to try to readjust those grades at that time. But I think the majority of changes, as I said before, were not substantial. They were more wordsmithing, formatting, and trying to be consistent in what we called courses, the credits that we offered them, the weight, and things like that. Snehavas, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, I think one of the other big pieces was the last section where we talked about our new courses under the college and career section. That's where we added in the courses that are going to be working towards our pathways. So those are all in there now as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the kids are going to select their courses?
Yes. So we already had a meeting with all of the students a week ago. And they heard from all of the different department heads as well as the different areas about all the electives that were offered. So it just kind of sparked some interest. And then from there, we're going to post the link to this program of studies if or when approved. And they'll have the week of vacation to kind of overlook that book and, see what there is. The week after vacation, they have the opportunity to ask their teachers throughout their courses any questions that they may have regarding those courses. And on that Friday of the week after vacation, when all the students are back, we'll have a day where the students and teachers can meet on that Friday. And that Friday afternoon, they'll submit a form with the courses that they want. And I missed a piece. So the week right after vacation, the teachers are also going to submit their teacher recommendations for what the students they believe the students should be taking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that process was laid out in my newsletter that went out yesterday. So the parents know that they will have access to the program of studies and go over that with their child over the April break.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee regarding the revisions to the Bartlett High School Program of Studies? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of job description, Adult Education Program Evaluator.
Mrs. Siddiqui, there's also a job description for the special education year administrative assistant that's been updated. I don't know if you want to take a look at them. The program adult evaluator for adult education is specifically designed for Mrs. Terry Gilardi to be supervising and supporting the new co-directors of the adult education program, and the special education year-round administrative assistant position has just been updated. It's been a while since we had updated that, so I don't know if this is a slate and approve them as a slate.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee regarding the 2 job descriptions? It's actually 3 job descriptions. Oh, sorry, 2. Are there any questions or comments about the 2 job descriptions that are presented? The adult education program evaluator and the special education school year administrative assistant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Blythe,
Yes.
member Naprata,
Yes.
member Millet,
yes,
member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of Easter meals and food boxes from TMD Small Business Group, Black Tavern Historical Society, and the First Congregational Church of Dudley.
So typically I say in Webster, kindness matters. So tonight I'm going to say in Webster and Dudley, kindness matters. We are always getting calls from community members with little things to help our families. And recently we got a call from the TMD Small Business Group, Black Tavern Historical Society, and they dropped off some pre meals for Easter for probably 6 or 7 families, and we called families in need, and they were very, very grateful to receive those prepackaged meals with some gift cards for some food. So we want to thank them publicly and on behalf of the families that received them.
Great. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the Easter meals and food boxes.
So moved.
second,
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Blythe,
Yes.
member Naprata,
Yes.
member Millet,
yes,
member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. And thank you to TMD Small Business Group and the Black Tavern Historical Society and the First Congregational Church of Dudley for their generosity. And the final item on the agenda is a review, transfer, signing of warrants, bills, payroll, and vouchers. See a warrant in there. Are there any questions or comments from the committee about the warrant? Mrs. Perangeli, who do you need to see this week?
I need you, Ms. Siddiqui, for payrolls, and I believe I'm good with the warrant because Linda stopped in for me already, so we are all set.
Perfect. So if there are no further items, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
second,
A motion in 2 seconds. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
member Millet,
yes.
member Blythe,
Yes.
member Adamopoulos,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.